Number 1. Officer Ashley McArthur. On September 8, 2017, Taylor Wright, a 33-year-old private investigator and former police officer from North Carolina, vanished without a trace in Pensacola, Florida. Before her disappearance, her husband had recently divorced Taylor, and she was experiencing some hard times. She then decided to move in with her girlfriend, Cassandra Waller, and they both lived happily without any issues. On the day of the incident, Taylor had gone out with one of her friends, Ashley McArthur, a 40-year-old former crime scene technician, hoping to relieve some of the stress she was experiencing from her divorce. That was the last day she was ever seen or heard from. Her roommate and girlfriend tried reaching out to her, but couldn't get through. She called Ashley, but Ashley told her that Taylor was going through a lot at the time, and she needed to rest and keep herself away from everyone. Things escalated when Waller received a text message that was supposed to come from Taylor, indicating that she needed a few days to clear her head. Taylor's family and friends became worried because it was unlike her to just disappear and leave her son all alone by himself. As days went by and she wasn't seen, Taylor's girlfriend reported her missing at the police station. Investigators quickly focused on Ashley, who was the last person to see Taylor. Ashley initially denied knowing her whereabouts, stating that after their meeting, Taylor booked an Uber ride and left. After interrogating Taylor's ex-husband and other individuals connected to Taylor, the investigator revealed that Taylor, who was navigating through her painful divorce, had removed $34,000 from their family joint account and had given it to Ashley to help keep safe for her till she will be needing it. On the day they met, it was revealed that Taylor had arranged for the meeting to get back the money from Ashley. Ashley, however, had already deposited the money into her personal account and spent them on personal expenses, including paying off credit cards and on a motorcycle purchase. After meeting, Ashley took Taylor to her family's farm in Cantonment under the pretense of horseback riding. Afterwards, surveillance footage captured Ashley purchasing concrete and potting soil at a local Home Depot. There at her family's farm, she shot Taylor in the back of the head and buried her body under layers of concrete and potting soil. To cover her tracks, Ashley used Taylor's phone to send messages, making it appear as though Taylor was still alive. Evidence, including cell phone records placing her at the farm and the Home Depot purchases, led authorities to suspect foul play. On October 19, 2017, Wright's remains were discovered on Ashley's family property. She was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Later, it was upgraded to first-degree premeditated murder. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence of Ashley's motive and actions: the stolen money, the purchase of materials to conceal the body, and the attempt to mislead others using Taylor's phone. The defense argued that there was no physical evidence linking McArthur to the murder. Despite the defense's claims of insufficient physical evidence, the jury found Ashley guilty of first-degree premeditated murder on August 30, 2019. Ashley McArthur was sentenced to life in prison with a mandatory minimum of 25 years before eligibility for parole. As of April 2025, she has served approximately 5 years and 7 months of her sentence. Ashley is currently incarcerated at the Lowell Annex Correctional Institution in Ocala, Florida. She may be eligible for parole in 2044, when she will be 67 years old. Number 2, Officer Stephanie Lazarus. In the early hours of February 24, 1986, a brutal crime unfolded in the neighborhood of Van Nuys, Los Angeles, California. This crime went unsolved for over 2 decades. Stephanie Lazarus was a respected detective with the Los Angeles Police Department, specializing in art theft. She was a graduate of the University of California, Los Angeles. She had a promising career and a reputation for diligence. But beneath the surface, Stephanie harbored an obsession with her college ex-boyfriend, John Rutan. Their relationship had ended for many years prior, yet Stephanie struggled to let go, especially after John engaged 29-year-old Sherry Rasmussen, a well-accomplished nurse. Stephanie Lazarus and John met at the University of California during their college years in the early 1980s. They started a romantic relationship that lasted several years. However, their bond faded, and John graduated and began dating Sherry. Their relationship quickly blossomed, leading to marriage in November 1985. Stephanie was unable to accept the end of her relationship with John. She reportedly confronted Sherry on multiple occasions, expressing her discontent and jealousy. Friends and family even reported that her inability to move on was eating her up. Sherry had reportedly expressed concerns about Stephanie's persistent presence, feeling threatened by her. Despite these red flags, no one filed a report against her. On the morning of February 24, 1986, John left the home he shared with his wife, Sherry, for work. Sherry, on the other hand, was supposed to attend a speaking event, but she said she would call in sick and would be at home all through that day. On getting to midday of that day, a neighbor noticed that the couple's garage door was wide open and the car inside was gone. A few minutes later, John tried calling home several times, but no one answered. He also reached out to Sherry's sister, who was also a nurse at a hospital close to their home. She called, but no one answered, and she left a message. Around afternoon, two men who were identified as gardeners found a purse which was believed to belong to Sherry, and reportedly brought it to the neighbors. A maid who was working in another house that morning reported that she heard disturbing sounds and a loud sound like a body dropping to the ground. Later that day, after work, John returned home to find his wife brutally beaten and shot to death in their home. The crime scene suggested a violent struggle. She had been shot 3 times and bore a bite mark on her arm. The shots were determined to have been fired through a quilted blanket, likely to muffle out the sound so no one could hear. Initially, investigators stated that the murder was the result of a botched burglary, as there had been a series of similar crimes in the area. The investigators just took some swab tests and some other details from the crime scene. Despite some suspicions, Stephanie was not thoroughly investigated at the time, and the case eventually went cold. For years, the case remained unsolved. It wasn't until 2009 that cold case detectives revisited the evidence. Advancements in DNA technology allowed for the analysis of the bite mark swab, revealing a female DNA profile. Investigators began to consider women in Sherry's life who might have had a motive. Stephanie, who had threatened her numerous times, then became a major suspect in the case file. Undercover officers obtained a DNA sample from Stephanie by collecting a discarded item. The results of the DNA matched the sample from the crime scene. In June 2009, after over 22 years of the case being unsolved, Stephanie was arrested at LAPD headquarters and charged with the murder of Sherry Rasmussen. Her trial commenced in February 2012. Prosecutors argued that she was driven by jealousy and unable to let go of her past relationship with John, and murdered his wife in a fit of rage, as there had been several times where she stated that if she couldn't have John, then no one else could have him. The defense contended that the DNA evidence was contaminated and that there was no concrete proof linking Stephanie to the crime. After a month-long trial, the jury found her guilty of first-degree murder. They argued that Lazarus used her police training to stage the crime scene, making it appear as a burglary. The DNA evidence from the bite mark was central to the prosecution's case. On May 11, 2012, Lazarus was sentenced to 27 years to life in prison. She was credited with time served since her 2009 arrest. In 2024, a parole board initially recommended her release, citing her positive behavior and rehabilitation efforts. However, after emotional testimonies, Sherry's family, and a review requested by the governor's office, the decision was declined. The board cited her lack of genuine remorse and the calculated nature of her crime as reasons for denying parole. As of April 2025, Lazarus has served approximately 16 years of her sentence. She remains incarcerated at the California Institution for Women in Chino. Number 3. Officer Antoinette Frank. On the evening of March 4th, 1995. Then 24-year-old Antoinette Frank, a former officer of the New Orleans Police Department, and her drug dealer boyfriend, Rogers Lacaze, visited the Kim An restaurant, a Vietnamese restaurant where Frank worked as an off-duty security guard. They had previously visited the restaurant twice that same day to get leftover food to eat. On the day of the incident, Frank was not on duty. His police colleague, Officer Ronald Williams, was the one on shift. Frank used a key she had stolen earlier that day to enter inside the restaurant, pushing past Officer Ronald Williams, who was guarding the restaurant that night. As she pushed him away, her boyfriend Lacaze shot Williams in the neck. Then he continued firing as he fell, and eventually murdered him. After shooting the security officer, Frank and Lacaze then started shouting and demanding money from the Vu family, the owners of the restaurant. When 17-year-old Quang Vu hesitated, Frank pistol-whipped him. She then retrieved the cash from where it was hidden in a microwave and immediately executed Quang and his 21-year-old sister, Ha Vu, shooting them multiple times, leading to their death. After collecting the money, they left the premises. Unknowing to them, Chow Vu and her brother Kwok were hiding in a cooler. After the armed couple left, Kwok came out and ran to a friend's house and called 911 to report the incident to the authorities. Frank, who had gone home to drop her boyfriend, received the 911 call alert on her portable police radio. She immediately learned that they had left a witness alive and the witnesses may implicate them. She immediately borrowed a patrol car and went back to the crime scene pretending to be a good cop, but she had the intention to murder the remaining witnesses. On returning to the scene and posing as a responding officer, Chauvu, recognizing her, accused Frank of the killings. She informed the other officer that Frank had committed the crimes they had come to investigate. Frank was taken in and under severe interrogation. She confessed to the crime implicating Lacaze, her boyfriend. During the investigation, the detective who worked on the case indicated that Frank and her boyfriend planned the robbery to get revenge on Williams, her fellow officer. She believed that Williams was cheating her on hours and pay at the restaurant. He also describes Frank as the most cold-hearted person he has ever encountered. Both were arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. She was the first police officer to have been charged with killing a fellow officer in New Orleans. Frank's trial began on September 5, 1995. Despite her attorneys subpoenaing 39 witnesses, none were called. The jury deliberated for just 22 minutes before finding her guilty on all counts, a record for a capital murder case in New Orleans at the time. The next day, they recommended the death penalty after 45 minutes of deliberation. She was formally sentenced to death on October 20th, 1995. Frank remains on death row at the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. In 2023, she was among the 5 death row inmates that was granted clemency hearings. However, on October 13th, 2023, the Louisiana Pardon Board denied her appeal. As of April 2025, Frank is 53 years old and continues to file post-conviction appeals, rendering her ineligible for execution until all legal avenues are exhausted. Number 4, Officer Alfreda Fluker. 39-year-old Alfreda Janapril Fluker was a 15-year veteran of the Birmingham Police Department, Alabama. She served diligently on the crime reduction team. Beyond her professional life, she was in a romantic relationship with her teammate and assignment partner, Officer Mario Theodore White. Since 2016, the two had been romantically involved, and they both lived together, intertwining their personal and professional lives together. However, unaware to Fluker, White had been cheating on her. He had been engaging in an affair with 43-year-old Kenesha Nicole Fuller. Fluker sort of suspected him of cheating on her, but didn't have any evidence. On the night leading to the incident, Fluker and White had a serious argument in their shared home. After the argument, White showered, used some cologne, and took a pack of Viagra and went off to work. Fluker, still suspecting infidelity, tracked White using a phone application. Her suspicions were confirmed when she located him and Nicole together in an unmarked police vehicle at Germania Park. According to Fluker's testimony, she discovered the two engaging in an intimate act in the passenger's seat of their work vehicle. This made Fluker very furious, and she was filled with rage and deep hatred for both of them. She quickly went back to her car and retrieved her service weapon, approached the vehicle and fired over 15 rounds of shots into it, striking Nicole multiple times in the leg, arm, and head. White did not receive any gunshot wounds. After the incident, White reversed and drove back into the park with Nicole still bleeding in the passenger seat. He was joined shortly by Fluker, and they both started having another argument. Later, she suggested that they should take Nicole to the hospital, but White said he didn't want Nicole to talk. Fluker then knelt closer to where Nicole was and asked her if she was okay. Nicole nodded, and with that, Fluker fled the scene and went home. After she left, White then called 911 and lied to them that some unidentified black individuals had carried out the shooting. Nicole was taken to UAB Hospital, where she died from her injuries. During the investigation, witnesses gave accounts of seeing a man and a woman arguing after the shooting, and further questioning led to White confessing the true identification of Fluker as the shooter. She was arrested the following morning at her mother's residence, where she had fled to, and charged with capital murder and attempted murder. During the trial, prosecutors painted Fluker as a calculated and cold individual who executed a premeditated act of violence. They highlighted her decision to use her service weapon and the number of shots fired as evidence of intent. The defense argued that Fluker acted in the heat of passion upon discovering the affair, suggesting a lack of premeditation. Fluker also indicated that at that moment of the crime, all she could visualize in her mind was the two of them carrying out the act inside the truck she rode every day to work, and she stated that she acted out of a desire for respect and to make White stop playing with her. After deliberating for less than an hour, the jury found Fluker guilty of capital murder of Nicole and attempted murder of White. On February 6, 2023, Fluker was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As of April 2025, she has served approximately 2 years of her sentence and remains incarcerated in an Alabama state prison. Given the nature of her sentence, she will spend the remainder of her life behind bars. Number 5. Officer Sophie Emms. 29-year-old Sophie Emms began her career with the intention of upholding the law. However, her path took a dark turn when she entered into a relationship with a 42-year-old inmate, Jediah Clark. Clark, who was already serving time in the prison where she worked. He managed to manipulate Emms, exploiting her vulnerabilities and financial struggles. As their relationship grew stronger, he persuaded Emms to smuggle in some hard substance for him inside the prison. In return, he would compensate her by putting money into her account. Emms then agreed to carry out the smuggling for him. Clark's 61-year-old mother, Joy Wickham, was also part of the plan. She sourced the synthetic cannabinoid spice used for the making of the hard substance, commonly known as the zombie drug, or spice. These substances were then soaked into the pages of puzzle books, which Emms then brought into the prison. Once inside, they were stored and kept hidden inside the cell of Clark's fellow prisoner, Joel Barker. Then the pages were cut into strips and sold to inmates, generating significant profits. The whole process was run like a commercial operation. Emms received £7,000 for her role, while the total operation was estimated to be worth £130,000. The scheme unraveled when the Eastern Region Special Operations Unit launched an investigation. Evidence of the smuggling operation was uncovered, leading to the arrests of Emms, Clark, and Wickham. At Norwich Crown Court in December 2024, Emms pleaded guilty to conspiracy to convey prohibited articles into prison. Judge Catherine Moore described her actions as a gross breach of trust, emphasizing the severity of her betrayal. Emms was sentenced to 2 years and 11 months in prison. Clark received a 6-year, 2-month sentence, while Joy Wickham was sentenced to 4 years. Despite the substantial profits from the operation, Emms was ordered to repay only £48.50, the amount available in her assets, along with £228 in costs. Failure to pay would result in an additional 7 days in custody. Clark and Wickham's financial proceedings were adjourned for further assessment. As of April 2025, Emms has served approximately 4 months of her sentence. She remains incarcerated, reflecting on the choices that led her from a position of authority to a prison cell. Number 6. Officer Paula Attwood-Rees. 59-year-old Paula Attwood-Rees had served as a response officer with South Wales Police. After retiring, she and her wife moved to Alexandra Terrace in Monkswood. Over time, tensions grew between Attwood-Rees and her neighbors, Christopher and Jacqueline Teague, who were both in their late 60s. The discord escalated to a legal dispute when Attwood-Rees damaged the Teagues' car, and she was convicted. Later that same day, after they all came back from the court, as Christopher and his wife sat down for dinner in their home, Attwood-Rees launched a calculated and violent assault on the couple. Armed with 2 knives, a metal pole, an electric cattle prod, and a shovel, she kicked through the couple's French doors and entered their home uninvited. She punched Mrs. Teague in the face, breaking her nose, and slashed her wrist with a knife. Mr. Teague was also attacked, suffering injuries from a poker and a knife. Attwood-Rees declared that her intention was to murder them both. The violence escalated to outside of their home, where she used the shovel to damage the couple's cars and struck Mrs. Teague on the head as she attempted to call for help. The attack only ceased when passing motorists intervened, restraining Attwood-Rees until police arrived. During her arrest, she assaulted the officer who was trying to handcuff her. The officers put her face down on the floor and warned her she could be tasered if she continued to struggle. She was arrested at the scene and faced multiple charges, including wounding with intent, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, aggravated burglary, possession of offensive weapons, and assaulting an emergency worker. During her trial, she was charged with attempted murder, but her defense painted a picture that she had suffered severe PTSD after serving as a response officer with South Wales Police, and had sustained a frontal lobe brain injury, which experts say can affect the way people behave. But the judge also noted that she had 2 previous convictions for assaults on police officers dating back to 2008. She pleaded guilty to all charges. At the Crown Court, Judge Jeremy Jenkins sentenced Attwood-Rees to 6 years and 2 months in prison, ordering her to serve 2/3 of the sentence before being eligible for release. An indefinite restraining order was also imposed, preventing her from contacting the Teagues. Mrs. Teague suffered a stroke after the incident, and the couple moved out of their family home of 38 years because they no longer felt safe there. As of April 2025, Attwood-Rees has served approximately 6 months of her sentence. She remains incarcerated, with 4 years and 4 months remaining before potential release. Upon release, she will be around 63 years old. Number 7. Officer Stephanie Heaps. Stephanie Heaps began her career in law enforcement as a prison officer at HMP Weymouth in Leyland, Lancashire, in March 2018. It was there that she met 35-year-old Leon Leighton Ramsden. Ramsden was serving a life sentence for the 2010 murder of Paul Gilligan in Bolton. Their professional interactions soon turned personal. It evolved into a romantic relationship that Heaps failed to disclose to her superiors, knowing fully well that it was a major breach of protocol that would later have severe repercussions. In July 2019, Heaps transitioned to Greater Manchester Police as a constable in Bolton. Despite her new role, she continued her undisclosed relationship with Ramsden, who was deeply entrenched in organized crime, including money laundering, substance trafficking, and orchestrating burglaries at St. Helens. Heaps' failure to report this relationship violated the ethical standards expected of her position. In September 2019, Greater Manchester Police Anti-Corruption Unit received a tip-off regarding Heaps' association with Ramsden. An investigation revealed that Heaps had been visiting Ramsden in prison, communicating with him through illicit mobile phones, and sharing sensitive police information with him. Notably, on one occasion, she intentionally refrained from arresting a wanted domestic abuse suspect because of the individual's connection to Ramsden. Heaps was arrested in January 2020. During interrogation, she offered no comment and resigned from the police force shortly thereafter. The police also discovered a wedding photo that the couple had edited using artificial intelligence and posted it on social media. In October 2022, Heaps pleaded guilty to multiple offenses, including intentionally encouraging or assisting the commission of an offense through communications with Ramsden through illegal mobile phones. On July 4, 2024, Bolton Crown Court sentenced Heaps to 4 years and 3 months in prison. Ramsden received an additional 5 years and 7 months to run concurrently with his existing life sentence. Other individuals were also arrested, charged, and sentenced in connection with the burglary incident. As of April 2025, Heaps has served approximately 9 months of her sentence. Number 8. Officer Natalie Mottram. On April 24, 2020, a covert operation targeting encrypted criminal communications was compromised. A message circulated among criminals. The leak threatened to unravel Operation Venetic, the UK's largest crackdown on organized crime. The source of the leak was Natalie Mottram, a 24-year-old intelligence analyst who was entrusted with the very secrets she betrayed. Natalie Mottram, who is from Warrington, Cheshire, was employed by Cheshire Constabulary and seconded to the Northwest Regional Organized Crime Unit. In her role, she conducted threat assessments on organized crime groups and had access to sensitive intelligence, including details of Operation Venetic, a nationwide initiative targeting users of EncroChat, an encrypted communication platform used by gangsters and serious criminals across Europe to avoid detection. Despite being briefed on the operation's confidentiality, Mottram disclosed its existence to 38-year-old Jonathan Kay, the partner of her close friend, Leah Bennett. On April 24, 2020, Kay's associate messaged another EncroChat user, revealing that law enforcement can now access the platform. The message detailed the extent of the breach, advising caution in their communications. The National Crime Agency detected the leak and initiated surveillance on Mottram. On June 12, 2020, she was assigned to analyze a fabricated intelligence log concerning Kay. That afternoon, Mottram left work and visited Kay and Bennett's residence, where she was observed informing them about the supposed intelligence log about Kay. After meeting with Kay, she left and had a call with another individual whom she agreed to meet up with at a supermarket car park. Later that day, the NCA officers arrested Mottram, Kay, Bennett, and the other individual. £200,000 in cash was recovered from Kay's apartment. Mottram faced charges of misconduct in public office, perverting the course of justice, and unauthorized access to computer material. She pleaded guilty to all counts at Liverpool Crown Court on August 18, 2023. On November 3, 2023, she was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison. Jonathan Kay received a 30-month sentence for perverting the course of justice. As of April 2025, Mottram has served approximately 1 year and 5 months of her sentence. Assuming standard parole eligibility at the halfway point, she could be considered for release in early 2026 at the age of 29. Number 9. Officer Lorna Pennycook. 38-year-old Lorna Pennycook was a former West Midlands police constable who was born in Walsall. She began her relationship with 43-year-old Kennedy in 2016 after meeting on a dating site. Despite Kennedy's criminal background, the relationship progressed, and Pennycook used her position within the police force to access information related to Kennedy, his associates, and criminal activities in the Sandwell area, an area she was not assigned to police. Between 2017 and 2021, Pennycook conducted numerous unauthorized searches on police systems, including 42 checks for outstanding warrants in Sandwell and inquiries into 2 HGV thefts in which Kennedy was involved. She also accessed intelligence logs and information about investigations and police operations, some at Kennedy's behest. Evidence revealed that Pennycook was aware of the illegality of her actions. She often instructed Kennedy to delete messages between them and, in February 2021, requested that he obtain a burner phone for their communications. In November 2020, West Midlands Police referred the case to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, which directed an investigation by the force's anti-corruption unit. During the investigation, it was revealed that Kennedy, who had over 18 previous convictions, wanted to end his relationship with Pennycook, but stopped because he found out that she was a police officer. The investigation concluded in October 2021, leading to Pennycook's resignation from the force in July 2021. She was charged with misconduct in public office and pleaded guilty in March 2023. At Birmingham Crown Court, Pennycook was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Kennedy received the same sentence for encouraging or assisting the offenses. During the trial, the court heard that Pennycook's actions had the potential to impede active police investigations and that her behavior constituted a complete betrayal of public trust. As of April 2025, Pennycook has served approximately 4 months of her 4-year sentence. She is currently incarcerated in a UK prison and will be eligible for parole after serving half of her sentence, which would be in December 2026. At that time, she will be 40 years old. Number 1. Officer Valerie Cincinelli. In the spring of 2019, the New York Police Department was shocked by a crime that would have led to the death of 2 innocent individuals. Valerie Cincinelli joined the NYPD in 2007. She dedicated over a decade of her life to the law enforcement agency. She was assigned to the Video Interactive Patrol Enhanced Response Unit, whose members monitor security cameras at city housing projects. However, her personal life was very chaotic. By 2019, she found herself in a bitter divorce and custody battle with her estranged husband, Isaiah Carvalho Jr. At the same time, she was in a volatile relationship with her boyfriend, John DeRoba. Tensions escalated when Cincinelli allegedly began plotting to eliminate both her husband and her boyfriend's 15-year-old daughter. She was driven by jealousy and personal animosity. In February 2019, Cincinelli withdrew $7,000 from a Long Island bank and handed it to DeRoba, her boyfriend, instructing him to find a hitman to carry out the murder of his husband. Unknown to her, DeRoba reported the plot to the FBI when she included the murder of his teenage daughter. He became an FBI confidential informant. Over the next few months, Cincinelli and DeRoba discussed the plan in detail, with Cincinelli suggesting that her husband's murder be staged to look like a robbery near his workplace. She also callously proposed that DeRoba's daughter be run over near her school. On May 17, 2019, the FBI executed a sting operation. An agent, posing as a hitman, sent Cincinelli a photo showing her husband appearing dead in his car. Believing the murder had been carried out, Cincinelli was recorded discussing alibis and instructing DeRoba to delete incriminating messages. She was arrested later that day and charged with obstruction of justice and 2 counts of murder for hire. Facing overwhelming evidence, including audio and video recordings, Cincinelli pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice in April 2021. She admitted to deleting information on her iPhone to impede the federal investigation. During her plea hearing, she expressed remorse, stating that she knew what she did was wrong. On October 29, 2021, Cincinelli was sentenced to 48 months in prison. Having already served 30 months, she was released from prison after 6 months on the ground of good behavior. Number 2, Officer Kim Potter. On April 11, 2021, a seemingly routine traffic stop in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, escalated into a tragic incident. 20-year-old Dante Wright was driving with his girlfriend Elena Albrecht Payton in a white vehicle registered to his brother. They were driving along 63rd Avenue North near Orchard Avenue on their way to the car wash before he was pulled over by 26-year-old Officer Kim Potter, who was being driven by her trainee. Kim Potter had served with the Brooklyn Center Police Department for over 2 decades. She was known among colleagues as a field training officer. She had no prior disciplinary actions on her record. The officers had noticed that the car Wright was driving had an expired registration tag, and an air freshener was hanging from his rearview mirror. As they stopped, the trainee officer reached out to Wright, and he provided his name, but he did not have a driver's license or proof of insurance card. The trainee officer returned to their patrol car, and she later returned with his supervisor after checking their database and seeing that Wright had an open arrest warrant on him, and there was also a protective custody order against him by a woman. The officers then decided to arrest Wright. As the officers tried to detain Wright, he attempted to re-enter his vehicle, but the trainee tried to stop him. During the struggle, Potter, who was carrying her taser holstered on her left side and her gun on her right, to Wright that she would tase him. A few seconds later, Potter drew her service weapon instead of her taser. She shouted, "Taser!" up 3 times before firing a single shot into Wright's chest. Realizing her mistake, she shouted that she grabbed the wrong gun. She collapsed to the ground and placed her head in her hands and stated that she was going to prison as she just shot a child. Wright drove off, but crashed into another vehicle shortly after. After the crash, paramedics were called to attend to him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. His girlfriend, who was sitting at the passenger seat of the car, was rushed to the hospital. The incident occurred during the trial of Derek Chauvin, the officer convicted of the murder of George Floyd, intensifying public scrutiny and outrage. After the incident, Potter fled her home for safety reasons after her address was leaked on social media. Potter was placed on administrative leave, and a few days later she resigned from the police force. She was arrested and charged with first- and second-degree manslaughter. Her trial commenced in December 2021, where she pleaded not guilty, asserting that the shooting was a tragic mistake, and video of the CCTV camera footage was also played. The prosecution argued that her actions were reckless and negligent, emphasizing her extensive training and experience. After deliberations, the jury found Potter guilty on both counts of manslaughter. The conviction marked a rare instance of a police officer being held criminally accountable for a fatal shooting while on duty. During sentencing, Judge Regina Chu acknowledged the tragedy, stating, "This is one of the saddest cases I've had in my 20 years on the bench." She sentenced Potter to 24 months in prison, with eligibility for supervised release after 16 months. The sentence was notably less than the 86 months recommended by state guidelines. The lenient sentence sparked outrage among Wright's family and the broader community. His mother, Katie Wright, expressed her anguish, stating that Kim Potter murdered her son, and today, the justice system murdered him all over again. The family felt the sentence did not reflect the severity of the loss they endured. Dante Wright was a young father. He was described by family as a loving and joyful individual. Potter was released from prison in April 2023 after serving 16 months. Since her release, she has engaged in speaking engagements at law enforcement conferences, sharing her experience to prevent similar tragedies. These appearances have been met with mixed reactions. Some view them as a step toward accountability and education, while others, including Wright's family, see them as exploitative. Wright's family agreed on $3.2 million settlement with the government. Thank you guys for watching. Do you think these individuals got the suitable punishment for the crimes they committed? Leave a comment below